You know, me and paleo, we have major history. Hi, I'm Tracy Lockwood-Beckerman. I'm a registered dietitian in New York City, and it's my job to help you figure out what to eat and why. Today we're traveling back in time to cave dudes and dudettes, the hunters and gatherers, to take a deep dive into the paleo diet. You might have heard of this trendy diet, but today I'm explaining what it is, what it entails, and the pros and cons to consider before starting. Although this way of eating dates back decades, the paleo diet was popularized by Dr. Stanley Boyd Eaton in 1985. It was designed to resemble what our hunter-gatherer ancestors ate thousands of years ago during the Paleolithic era, under the argument that our bodies were not built to consume foods produced by modern farming practices. So, paleo is all about eating strictly whole foods and avoiding processed foods. That means you'll be cutting out sugar, dairy, buy ice cream, grains, alcohol, and legumes. A disclaimer, all of the studies that I referenced were completed short-term, and therefore the long-term effects of paleo are unknown. Here's what we do know about the benefits of the diet. One thing I think all of my fellow RDs can get behind is cutting back on processed foods. We know that packaged foods usually sneak in sugars and additives that are not so great for our bodies. In fact, in a study by the Harvard School of Public Health, about 3/4 of the average American sodium intake comes from commercially prepared foods. Mind blown! Eliminating processed foods and eating more whole foods will help to manage blood pressure, potentially stave off disease, and avoid empty calories and added sugars. What's the buzziest buzzword in food and health right about now? Inflammation! Well, because you're cutting out foods that have sugar, alcohol, and gluten, paleo can potentially help reduce inflammation in the body, which can help mitigate the symptoms of chronic illness. In general, if you follow a diet rich in lean protein and plant-based foods, you will feel fuller longer, which will help to control blood sugar. Reducing those spikes in blood sugar is great for keeping our energy levels and stress hormones in check. The major RD red flag is that this diet could poke some nutritional holes in your diet if you don't do it right. Limited or no grain intake can diminish levels of B vitamins like niacin, folate, as well as magnesium and fiber, all of the nutrients your body wants and needs to run properly. Cutting out major food groups such as dairy can lead to a lack of nutrients like calcium, vitamin D, and phosphorus. Dear dairy, will you Swiss me when I'm gone? I said it about keto, and I'm gonna say it now. Diets that eliminate a whole food group raise some serious concerns because really, there's no substantial evidence that supports the exclusion of dairy, legumes, and grains from an average consumer's diet. Sorry, not sorry. The diet also focuses on a higher quantity of saturated fats coming from meat, which has been shown to increase the risk for heart disease. I always recommend reducing foods high in sat fat, which is why I'm team olive oil when possible. Aside from the nutritional question marks, I always look at the practicality of a diet. As with any diets with big restrictions and too many no's, it can be difficult to incorporate into your daily life, especially when it comes to eating on the go. Do yourself a favor and don't jump into a diet without planning ahead and doing your research. Now for some tips on how to make paleo work for you. Focus on green, leafy vegetables for calcium like bok choy, Swiss chard, and spinach. Incorporate plant-based protein sources such as hazelnuts and hemp seeds to reduce the focus on meat. There are so many cooking oils out there, it can get confusing. Use olive oil when possible, and avoid using a ton of coconut oil, which contains extra saturated fat. Don't treat fruit like it is gonna send you off track. While fruit isn't the center focus of the paleo diet, you should still include 1 to 2 servings of fruit per day into your diet for an extra punch of nutrients and antioxidants. Although paleo is restrictive, it is pretty easy to keep track of since you'll just be looking for whole plain foods. but that could be tricky when it comes to eating on the go. While my first go-to is just to grab a plain old apple, you can also look for pre-packaged paleo snacks when you're in a pinch. Who Kitchen, Siete, Primal Kitchen, and Lesser Evil are great options. But a friendly reminder, just because it's paleo doesn't mean you should polish off a bar of yummy chocolate every night. It can be daunting to eliminate dairy and grains. However, get creative with veggies and experiment with nut cheeses. Try roasted squash boats with almond cheese and zucchini ribbons, aka zoodles, with velvety cashew alfredo to fill that void. Get to know your milks. No, not milk with an I, milk with a Y. That's right, dairy-free alternatives are going to be your BFF on the paleo diet, whether it's almond milk, banana milk, or coconut milk. Be realistic about the sourcing of your food. While some super strict paleoites are particular with the quality of meats, don't put too much pressure on eating organic and grass-fed all the time for your wallet's sake. As always, pay attention to your body. If you start to feel funky, consider making some adjustments. On the flip side, track improvements in your stress and energy levels, as well as sleep quality rather than focusing on weight loss. Lastly, there are a few health conditions that may be compromised by this diet. Continuously check your blood levels with a doctor, especially if you have a family history of cardiovascular disease, kidney disease, or osteoporosis. If you can't tell by now, diets that eliminate entire food groups are never my go-to recs. While there are aspects of the paleo diet I can definitely get behind, like cutting down on sugar and processed foods, there is not enough substantial evidence that eliminating grains and dairy from your diet will have a positive long-term effect. This diet was designed to emulate our ancestors, but the thing is we've come a long way since the cave days, and we can't turn a blind eye to the health benefits of a diverse diet that touches on every food group. See you next time for another episode of You vs. Food. You know it's also trendy? Subscribing to Well+Good's YouTube channel! Yes!